It is also not fiction, but a bold choice that's taking us right to the edge. It's a gut-wrenching memoir that is raw and it's so real. So he comes back and he goes, "Madame, you may have the bag with pleasure." At a store whose name I will not mention. That's never happened to me, you know? So this doesn't happen to me unless somebody obviously doesn't know that it's me.
Oprah Winfrey has said that she was a victim of racism after a shop attendant in Switzerland refused to serve her.
I've struggled with the idea of it and...
No, the lie of it. That's a lie. It's not an idea, James, that's a lie. But recently I was in Rome. Just last weekend I was in Rome. I was in Zurich the other day. Mm-hmm. And obviously our show isn't on in Rome. This is so funny. But obviously the Oprah Winfrey show is not shown in Zurich. So we say to the sales guy, "This is a bag, we'd like to have this bag." And he said, "No, madame, this bag cannot be sold." And she says to me, "This bag cannot be sold. It's impossible for this bag to be sold." No. It's too expensive. It's impossible for this bag to be sold. We say, "But the bag is right there, it's on the shelf." Recently, I was in Rome. Just last weekend, I was in Rome for this event that Quincy Jones was having. But I was in Zurich for Tina Turner's wedding. And I decided I'm going to leave the hotel. It's just me, by myself. And obviously, our show isn't on in Rome. This is so funny. So I'm at the Louis Vuitton store. Gail wasn't there, no friends. I'm out by myself. And I go into a store, which shall remain unnamed, and I say to the woman, "Excuse me, may I see that bag right above your head?" And she said, No, you don't want to see that one. You want to see this one because that one will cost too much. You will not be able to afford that." And I said, "Well, no, I really did want to see that one." And she refused to get it. She refused to get it. And she started to show me these other little bags, and I said, one more time I tried, I said, "But I really do just really want to see that one." And she said, "Oh, I don't want to hurt your feelings." And I said, "Okay, thank you so much. You're probably right. I can't afford it." And I walked out of the store. Now, why did she do that? So we say to the sales guy, "This is a bag. We'd like to have this bag." And he said, "No, madame, this bag cannot be sold. This bag cannot be sold. It's impossible for this bag to be sold." We say, "But the bag is right there. It's on the shelf." That's never happened to me, you know? Why did she do that? Now, Gail, when I told Gail the story, Gail said, "I would have gone back in there and made a Pretty Woman moment and said, 'Big mistake.'" But then I thought, no, she'd get the commission, so I won't do that.
Yeah, I guess that's true, right?
Sometimes people would criticize me because they felt that I didn't do enough for race or racism. I try to tell stories that allow people to see themselves in the lives of other people.
The American chat show host, who is one of the richest women in the world, was told by a shop assistant in Zurich that the handbag she wanted to look at was too expensive for her.
And I go into a store, which shall remain unnamed, and I say to the woman, "Excuse me, may I see that bag right above your head?" And she says to me, "No, it's too expensive." And the bag said, so he says, "No. This bag is for the Italian people. It's only for the Italian people. And perhaps you can go to your country and you can find the bag in your country." And I said, No. See the black one, the one that's folded over, And she said, No. You don't want to see that one. You want to see this one because that one will cost too much. You will not be able to afford that. And I said, "Well, no, I really did want to see that one." And she refused to get it. She refused to get it. And she started to show me these other little bags. And I said, one more time I tried, I said, "But I really do just really want to see that one." And she said, "Oh, I don't want to hurt your feelings." And I said, "Okay, thank you so much. You're probably right. I can't afford it." And I walked out of the store. And I'm with, it's Reggie, who does my makeup, Andre, my best friend Gail, and Gail's daughter. And Gail's daughter was just turning 18. So I said to Kirby, "We're going to go shopping and you can have anything you want." And, which is, she deserved it. She's a really nice girl. She's just gotten into Stanford and she's a really smart kid. So, and I know she's going to be reasonable with it. So we're at the Louis Vuitton store and we see this cute little Louis Vuitton bag. And so she says, you know, I'd like to have that bag. And I said, okay. So then we're like, the bag is only for the Italian people? What kind of bull is that? Nobody says anything. We all just start like looking at each other. Like, did you hear what he said? And Gail said, they obviously don't get the Oprah show. He needs a sign. Okay, so we're stunned. So Reggie, who is a joke a minute, he goes, well, we need to go find some Italians to come in here and buy this bag. So we continue to argue with the guy, like, well, okay, well, what can we do? No. So we're like, well, can we see the manager? No. I cannot disturb the manager because you cannot have this bag. You cannot have this bag. So by this time, we really want that bag. This is the only bag I want in all the world. So actually what happens is he says, I convince him, no, the four of us convince him that you need to get the manager here. So he says, I will call the manager and we can see if we can sell you this bag. And he calls the manager and he's like, he does that. Still, we can't have the bag. So we go get our guide, Angelo, who is Italian. We bring him in. Would you please try to explain to the man that we like the bag and he's Italian? So then they get into this whole big thing and he's going, no. No. So then they bring the manager out and the manager finally says, we can have that bag. We can have the bag. So thank you very much. So then Kirby's standing there and she's just looking at the bag and she says, I go, Kirby, is there a problem? She goes, well, I really wanted the brown one with the LVs on it that's in the window. And he goes, no. He goes, no, impossible. He goes, there is no way we can open the front window. We cannot open the window. There's no way you can get the bag in the window. He goes, I cannot even discuss it. I cannot discuss it. So we're there. So I say, okay, Kirby, we're all like, you don't want this bag? We just spent a half an hour to get the bag and the manager and the Italian police and you still... She said, no, I don't want to get the bag because what I really wanted was the brown one, and so I won't take it because that's not really the one I wanted. So then they go off and they have another conversation, and I think that was the Oprah Winfrey conversation. He said,
and we all will be served champagne.
Champagne!
Everybody will have champagne. It's going to be wonderful. No problem, man.
Yeah.
No problem, man.
Yeah, no problem, man. No problem. So... with pleasure. And then what do you do, Reggie?
The year is 2022, and the world is overpolluted, overpopulated with a shortage of food and water.
Else. I was living here before you got here. You heard me? Did you heard me? Trust Yvonne. My name is Yvonne. I've been living in this bitch before you got here. You disrespectful ass.
Yeah, there's been a political earthquake in Sweden, and the reverberations could be felt stateside as our own elections right around the corner. The Populist Party rose to power there on a message of curbing this runaway immigration and confronting the out-of-control crime that followed. Now, this didn't happen, in a vacuum. Take what happened back in May. Over the course of just 8 days in this small neighborhood of the town of Orbro, 3 young men were shot dead. Now, the neighborhood in which they were killed is made up almost exclusively of Syrian migrants. In fact, it's just one of 61 areas in Sweden listed by police as risks of gang violence. All of them happen to have high proportions of immigrants. Now, right now, Sweden has the highest per capita number of deadly shootings of all 22 European countries. And among shooting suspects, 85% are first or second generation immigrants, according to a Swedish newspaper. And it's why my next guest has promised his conservative Swedish Democrats will be watchdogs for change when they assume power. Joining me now is Charlie Weimers, member of the European Parliament from Sweden. it's great to see you tonight. Thank you so much for joining us. You have a lot of fans in Sweden. I have a lot of Swedish friends, and they recommended that you come on tonight, so thank you so much. What do Americans need to understand about what's happened in Sweden over a relatively short period of time?
Well, you need only to go to events tonight to see what's happened to Sweden tonight. Sweden broke the record of deadly shootings, 48 this year. We had a big explosion outside Stockholm tonight, which was heard even in downtown Stockholm. 500 bombings the last 4 years under social democratic rule, 1 shooting a day. Sweden is not Pippi Longstocking land anymore, and the Swedes are protesting against that. They want change. They want Sweden to be a safe country again, and that's why they voted for us in so big numbers.
Now, a New York Times columnist threw a tantrum after the election in Sweden, writing a piece entitled, "Sweden is becoming unbearable. The Swedish far right has profited from the country's growing inequalities, fostering an obsession with crime and an antipathy to migrants. Its advance marks the end of Swedish exceptionalism." Now, at the end of Swedish exceptionalism, you used to be a country that was fairly homogeneous but welcoming of all people and pretty united. Now, where is that?
Well, 40-year multiculturalism has ended Swedish exceptionalism, I can tell you that. And the journalist at New York Times might wonder why it happens that the Sweden Democrats are the biggest among Swedish Iranians, for naming one example. Of course, the reason for that is that immigrants who come to Sweden work hard and who don't want Sweden to become more like the Middle East, they tend to vote for us. And you can see that in the discussion on Islamism. We were the only ones raising that issue for many years. Now everyone else is starting to adopt our policies. But we still have a way to go because the state is still funding these Islamist Muslim Brotherhood-linked organizations. Sweden is still a safe country for Americans to visit, but there are parts in Sweden where I don't recommend anyone to go who are no-go zones. That's the fact of the matter, and we are going to change that.
The type of crime that's being reported in Sweden from friends of mine in very small villages outside of Karlstad or that area, they're crimes being described as crimes of humiliation.
Yes.
Of children, police say, unlike anything they've ever seen. And a lot of this linked to the Salafist Islamists who are joining these gangs and just ruining formerly peaceful neighborhoods and communities. But the Salafist Islamist problem is just horrific there.
Yeah, I mean, Sweden was number 2 jihadist exporter to Iraq and Syria during the time of ISIS. And these humiliation crimes, they have increased the last years. We also call it domination violence, where a young person can be urinated at gunpoint, tortured for hours, just because he's a Swede. And there is such resentment among some people. Not everyone, but enough people for it to be an increasing problem. And we are the only ones addressing this, and the center-left, they keep on fighting for more migration to Sweden, even though 20% of the population today in Sweden is born outside the country. That's more than America had during the height of its immigration, and we just cannot cope. We need to restrict immigration so that we can solve these problems.
Yeah, Charlie, you have to put a halt on that migration coming into Sweden, otherwise you're going to lose Sweden forever. Swedes have stood up and they said, can't do it anymore. Charlie, we're going to be watching this. Thank you so much for joining us. We're going to keep our eyes on this movement and how you guys address these problems. Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
All right, the overwhelming narcissism of the Enviro freaks is on display. The last bite will explain.
I served in the Army.